Hello, everybody. Welcome to SRA 365. I'm, of course, Professor S, and this is this week's walkthrough. Yeah, that's right. So instead of doing like the traditional lecture where I have the slides going on, I thought I'd do a walkthrough. And I'm trying some new things out, so hopefully it works well. Um, though if it doesn't, you won't even know the difference. But anyways, if you do notice a difference, let me know. Let me know if you like them or not, or if you prefer an old way. But anyways, first thing that we need to do is we need to set our working directory. So what I did already was I downloaded the files and I put them into the into a folder. And I'll kind of show you what that folder looks like because we got to choose our working directory. So I have all my items that I've downloaded. I mean, like I don't expect you to have all the week's lecture materials. But like each week, what I do is I put them in a separate thing. So then a separate folder. So then it's kind of easier to get to because I got to set up a working directory anyways. And so it's kind of easier when there's fewer things. It's less clutter, you know? So anyways, this is week 4. So I want to open up week 4 and notice here's the files that we need. So I'm going to open up the script and then first thing it says is set working directory. I already did that with the command to set up above. And one of the things that I kind of want to address is like kind of as I'm walking through, it's not just me running this thing. There's some things that I wanted to definitely make sure I point out, like when to install and when to just use the library. All right. So anyways, so first of all, we have the cyber data. I'm just going to get that. And then also the other thing is like the installing packages. So we installed a package. I think we just did it last week. And ggplot is one that we're going to be using a couple times. It's really nice. I kind of hinted at it before when I was talking about objects because it creates a ggplot object is one of the things that we'll be doing today. And that's kind of why this whole week is focused on graphs or graphical representations of data and stuff like that. But anyway, if you have not installed the ggplot2 package, this is what you do. You installed it once and you run it, and there you go. And the thing is like you only need to do it once. I mean, I've done it before, and it acts like it's never done it before, I guess. But I mean, the thing is you only need to do it once. You should only need to do it once. If you notice that there's an issue, like you run the library and it says, "Hey, that's not a thing," then just try installing it and see what happens. But really, if you've installed ggplots2 before or any package before, you shouldn't need to install it again. But anyways, and so once you install it, you have to load it, call it, and that's with the library method. The idea is like the installing it, I mean, think about like installing it just doesn't make everything inherent. In order to use what's in the package, you have to open it up. So, I mean, I guess if you want to think in the terms of like a literal package, installing the package is like ordering a package to your house. And then the library is opening it up and using the stuff, right? So just because you ordered it doesn't mean you can start using it. You got to open it up. And the thing is like once you've ordered it, you don't need to keep on ordering it. You could just open it up whenever you want it. Okay. So anyway, so library, that's the thing. And then also notice, let's see, keep up to date with the changes. Cool. So it has this red text, and for me, it's like, what did I do wrong? But I didn't do it. This isn't a warning message. This is just giving me the heads up for things. All right. So anyways, so first thing it looks like we're going to do is a scatter plot. So we're going to take a look at, this first line right here, or I mean this other line that we've worked on is line 30. But the idea is like creating that ggplot object. Okay, so ggplot is a graphical thing, and we'll see what we're creating in just a second. But the thing is, it's like you use the method, and then it's mostly comes in two parts: the data that you're referring to, or the data frame that you're referring to, and which of the data that you're going to be using for your ggplot object. That's it. And so the way that it works is we have our, well, here we'll kind of see it. So here's our data frame that we're using. Let's look at what it looks like. Cool. We have num attack, num devices, all those sorts of things, right? And so then when we look at AES is like helping us establish like the axis. And if you see here, when I put this on here, it has the x-axis is going to be the response time and y is going to be the num attack. Now that's not the only thing that we're going to be putting in AES method in the ggplot method, but for now it just is. All right, so let's just look at what this object looks like with this print. So far, that's it. Like, that's the base thing. And so the idea is like, we're going to, like with this object, we're going to keep adding things on. That's why we're using the plus. And like that plus adding things on, it doesn't really apply to much more of what we're doing than to ggplot. So, but the idea is that, like, hopefully that'll help you keep things in mind. But anyways, here is our object. Remember, it was graph cyber. It has all the things highlighted every time that it's used. And then we want to do geomplot, because the idea is like for the scatter plot, this is the first thing that we're doing. We need to, we want on this axis that we've created to come up with scatter points. And it's using the data from this data frame, thinking about these axes, right? So here's the response time, here's the number of attacks, and here's our scatter plot, right? Now, let's say that we want to update the axes, right? So response time, there's that weird space there, and num attack. I mean, maybe that's confusing for people. And so what we can do is add labels onto our axis. So it would replace these values here. So notice that it's the exact same thing so far, except it's plus labs for labels. And then we say what the X label is and what the Y label is. Notice that there's quotes there. So I run it. And then notice it's exactly the same time, or same thing, except it makes more sense with response time and number of cyber attacks. So then people that aren't necessarily as familiar with the spreadsheet or the data as we are, they can like use more human terms than num attacks and stuff like that. It's like, oh, number of cyber attacks. I get you, right? Let's keep on moving. Oh, box plot. So box plot, let's run this one. So notice that we have our ggplot object. We have ggplot right here. I have the data frame that we're using, cyber data, and then we're using these spaces. I like not having spaces in between my parentheses. So for the AES, notice that we have the fin loss and num attack. So this is our X. This is our Y. I wonder how that looks, right? So let's just run it so we get our new object. And then when we create, we could print it, but if I select this thing, it's going to do the exact same thing. And so notice that we have fin loss as our Y, or our X, sorry, and this is our Y. And so what does it look like when we do geom box plot? Here we go. So we have the no's and the yeses and the number of attacks. Okay, so we've kind of divided them out. So let's kind of look at this data again to kind of take a look at this. So financial loss, no or yes, and then we have the number of attacks right here, right? So let's kind of play around with this for a second. Where was I? Box plot. Okay. So maybe we just want to do number of attacks. Like, what if we don't divide this out? What happens when we do this? And so then I'm going to save this object, and I'm going to run this box plot. So notice the x-axis is now the amount of number of attacks, because that's what comes first. And then I think these are pretty much arbitrary. It's just talking about the distance. It's really not something useful. But it's essentially that box plot horizontal. Let's try something if we don't have anything there. Sometimes that's a thing in R. There you go. So what I have here is I put that comma there and nothing in front of it. And so then what it said was, all right, so nothing for the x-axis, and then for the y-axis, we'll do number of attacks. And so now we'll go back to fin loss. But I kind of don't remember, like, is it really capitalized? Like, it kind of says that it is, but I don't know. I'm second guessing myself. So the idea is what I can do is I can look back at my, if I open this up, I get a name of all the variables. And so I can look back at what it's called. So it is actually fin space LOSS. All right. So where did I keep losing my spot. Oh, here we go. There we go. And so then when we run this thing all together, it still has that no and yes from before. And then we can also, like for the other one, if we wanted to, we could do the labels as well. So we could do X is, let's do financial loss. And then Y is number of attacks. I'll just copy this down. Number of cyber attacks. Beautiful. So that when I run it, so notice that it says financial loss, so yes and no, and then number of cyber attacks. That's if we wanted to create that thing. Now, maybe something that you noticed when I ran those few things, why, like before when I ran this, it just does the axis, and then here it does everything at once. And so the idea is like it did run this, and so it did give us nothing, but then it gave us this. You just didn't see it. So it ran that line, but since this was later, that's the last thing you saw. All right. Oh, and then here we have the what I just did. Okay. So then next important thing is one other thing that I want to kind of point out with the box plot is that if you get outliers, it will kind of figure them out, and it will put like dots on either end. So those dots are those outliers. Okay. Let's see. So let's go to histogram. So histogram, remember, we're using just one value, and that's num attack. So I'm going to create this object right here, and let's just take a look at what the axes look like. Wonderful. And so remember, like the bins are going to be in different sizes. And here's something that I want to kind of show you that's probably going to happen to you that happens to me all the time. Okay, so it says on here that the bins is 30. So start bin using bins equals 30, pick a better value with bin width. And so when that happens, what you could do is you could go in here and do bin width and then type in the value. So if you remember with this is based off of num attacks, right? And if you look at num attacks, it's like each one is 10s. Right? So it's not 5s or 1s or 2s or anything like that. It's just everything has a 0 at the end. So it's like it's in values of 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say my bin width is 10. And so then when I run it, there we go. It likes it. Notice that there's not recommendations against it. So the thing is like with the bin width, what that does is that says like, so the width of each of the, so you have the scale here, and so each one of the bins is like how it divides up, and then for that specific area, remember that's how high it should make it. And so for 10s, it makes it that, and if we did it for, well, let's look what happens when we do it for 20. So it's going to be wider things, and so it's going to incorporate more things, so it's going to be kind of steeper. Let's see, where 20. See? So we can adjust the bin width. So it's like, what is it looking for? So I like to do 10s because I feel like that's going to be the most exact. But, I mean, heck, let's do 5s. Look what happens. So, you know, like how there was there's blanks in here because there are bins that have no values, right? So it's going to have these holes in it. So it doesn't make sense to have that value that in there. So we want this to be, I like it to be 10, or we could make it 30 if we, I don't know, wanted to be, felt like we needed to or something like that. But it feels like, I'm feeling like 10. Oops. No. There we go. All right, so let's keep on going. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add another thing because we're going to do bar charts. The reason is it's like if you think about a bar chart, that's going to be so you have a histogram that's like based off of continuous values, right? So it's like it's kind of what it's doing is kind of helping you create a normal distribution sort of thing. It's kind of making it look more in a normal distribution. Whereas with a bar chart, what it's doing is it's like counting the frequency for different categorical variables and seeing how high they are, right? We don't really have that. Well, we only have these financial losses as our categorical variables, so we need more stuff, and hence why we're using this data frame right here. Boom, there it is. Where this was called success dat. There it is. And so notice that we have gender, expertise, success, so on and so forth. Wonderful. And so now let's go down here to our success bar chart. Notice that we're using success dat. That's the one we just got. Our x-axis is the expertise, and the success is our y. So y success is the amounts here. Let's see what happens when we run this. And so I'm gonna just like, I guess we could just print it and just see. So now that we ran it, look at the expertise. That's the x-axis, so that's the first thing. And success is our y, right? And so notice we have cyber and SRA, so it's going to be comparing those somehow versus success. So let's keep on going and see how we're comparing this. So in order to do this, we're going to use stat summary. And we have the y is the mean. And then geom is bar and all that sort of thing. So let's just run this and just then we can start playing around with it and like kind of really figuring out what's going on here. So notice that we have cyber is 10 and SRA is 7.5. And also, hold on one second before we kind of figure out more. Notice that it's fun y. It doesn't like that for some reason. I think it's old. The fun y. Really what is like it likes better is just the function. So what are you doing to do your calculation and just do fun and it works. It likes that better. I think that it like figures that's what you're talking about and like says, hey, we didn't like that. So anyways, so let's see. What is that 10 referring to, and what is that 7.5 referring to? So what we can do to kind of to notice that it's mean. Do you think maybe it's like finding the average of the cyber and the SRA? Let's take a look. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the mean of the success for the cyber. So what I do is I'm going to do success. Dat is what we're going to do. This is a subsetting thing. I'm not expecting you to know how to do this. I'm just showing you a way that we can subset. We'll be doing other subsetting later. So we want the mean of the variable success, but we don't want all of it. We just want the ones where the expertise is cyber. So we'll do success dat and then expertise equals cyber. And I'm going to copy this and do it on the next line, except in just doing cyber, I want this to be SRA. And so then when I run these two lines, look at what they come up with. It says that the mean with the cyber, that's what this one is, that's the first one, it's 10 point whatever. which is, I guess, what this is. I guess it's not exactly at this line right here. So it's a little above 10, checks out. And then SRA, it's 7 point whatever, which is about like what we were thinking here. Yeah, it's definitely over that line a little bit now that I take a look at it. But so the thing that I'm trying to show you is like with this function where like it allows us to look at the average value. So it's like looking at success in terms of cyber are two different things. So it's comparing expertise and success. Okay, here we can kind of get a look at, let me show you something. So if we do this star here, we can get a better idea as to what all this stuff is. So variable. So it says here, data set loaded into R. Okay, X is the success and variable plotted is the Y-axis. Okay, once with the X, when we do this, plot the, like following that line. So once the object has been created, then use stat summary function to plot the summary of the data. The mean in this case, so function y property should be set to mean. There's like the thing is like we can use other means. I didn't remember if it's trying to make a point with the means or something like that. But there's other functions that we could use. Like, how about median? You think median works? So it's not saying that there's an error. What's the median of these? So 10. Oh, look, this one went down. So I'm going to, where's my things here? So this was mean. I'm going to change this to median. And so notice that the mean was 10 and the median was 7. So that everything checks out. So the idea is it's like we can change the function to what we want. In this class, you're probably just going to keep it as mean. Beautiful. All right, let's see. Now, if we want to be a little bit more specific about our bar plots, like say we want to take this like another step further, and we also want to consider gender in the mix with these, then what we can use is the fill in the aesthetic thing. So here we have the expertise, success, fill, and so then what it's going to do is it's going to divide the expertise. Why tell you when I can just show you? So I'm going to create this object. Notice that like what it does is, I mean, it doesn't really change anything here. And then when I run this thing, so really the stat summary, let's get rid of this because I don't like it telling me that it doesn't like that choice. So that when I run it, notice that it gives us these things. So this is a new thing. So notice the expertise we have, it says male is the teal, the turquoise, and the female is that salmon color, right? So the female like is more than the male, okay? But now the issue is like, well, I mean, it's kind of confusing. Like, is it kind of on top or maybe there's a better way? And that's where this dodge comes in. That's the dodge part here. This is like how you can position it. So right now it's kind of imposed on top of it. And so what we can do is move them so they're right next to each other. So that they're next to each other. And that's what this, like I said, that's what this dodge does. So when I run this line, notice that it just like, it takes it and it just kind of slides it over. And there we go. It's beautiful. But that's how we're able to like specify like gender within the expertise. So it's divided out even further. And so then this is going to be the average. This is going to be its average. This is its average. And this is this average, right? Or the mean, excuse me. Okay. Anyways, I think that is good for this walkthrough. Hopefully you found this helpful, and I will see you all next week. I think this will help you a lot with the lab. Anyways, good luck, and I'll see you all later. Bye. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, please press the like button below. It lets me know I'm doing something right. If you have any questions about any of the content, please send a message to both me and the rest of the teaching team in Canvas, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Do not send it through normal email. You will not get as fast a response. If you have any suggestions for how I can make these videos better, leave in the comments below. It'd be much appreciated. Don't forget to roundhouse kick the subscribe button and ring the bell to get notified for when I post the next video. Anyways, I think that's good for this video. I'll see y'all later. Bye!